Netflix didn't just buy Warner Brothers. They exposed every lie you've ever been told about job security. If a 100-year-old studio like Warner Brothers could be snatched overnight like that by Netflix, sorry to break it to you, but your 9 to 5 could vanish even faster. Let me paint a picture for you real quick, because this happens way more often than people want to believe. See, imagine this. You spend years giving a company your best. You stay late, you work weekends, you train new hires, you skip family time because, you got to get something out by Monday. You got to get it out by Monday. They need it by Monday. And your managers always tell you the right things to get your heart every time, and you believe it. You have a big future here. Yeah, we're working on something big for you. You're going to be a part of this. Stick with us and we'll take care of you. We're family. And you believe them because that's what you're supposed to do. That's what you want to do. That's what your brain is used to. But really, that's the corporate fantasy. Stability, structure, a ladder climb to the top. But at the end of the day, here's the truth that most people don't want to admit. That ladder isn't bolted to anything. And it could be yanked at any moment. Mergers are the perfect example. It's not just, Netflix and Warner Brothers, but mergers everywhere. Ask anyone who worked at Disney when they acquired Fox not too long ago. Ask anyone who worked at AT&T when they bought Time Warner. Ask anyone at Microsoft during that whole Activision situation. And ask the tens of thousands of workers who got laid off, who are working at Amazon. Well, the Whole Food workers, when Amazon bought Whole Food, ask those guys how they felt. Employees didn't just lose jobs, though. They lost their identity, they lost benefits, healthcare. They lost positions that they'd been building towards for years. I know some of them recovered, but not everybody does. Here's the real punchline, though, that most of them didn't see coming. They didn't see it coming because they were focused on doing what they're supposed to do as workers, showing up and working, keeping the company afloat low-key. But they weren't sitting in the boardrooms, obviously, where the future of the company was being traded like poker chips. They weren't in the rooms when the executive said, yeah, we need a 15% cut. Just get rid of these people over here, or get rid of these people over there, like they're just another number. And to the people at the top, it's strategy. To the people on the ground, it's trauma. Straight up. And yet this happens, happens more than you think. And, sometimes people talk about it. Sometimes it makes the news. Sometimes it doesn't. But whenever it does happen, people still are clinging on to this idea that, the W-2 job or the 9 to 5 is the safer route. But I gotta ask, it's safer for who? Not the workers, not the editors, not the coordinators, not the animators, not the assistants, not the people who actually keep the company alive. I know they're not investors. I know they ain't put up their own money, but they deserve some kind of humane treatment, I guess, Now, here's the part that gets glossed over. Every time a merger happens, there's always that one guy who says, well, mergers also create jobs. Yeah, they do. Whenever companies merge, they do create jobs. But not for the people who already work there. Now, there's no proof, or there's nothing saying exactly who's getting the boot, who's not getting the boot at Warner Brothers. I'm sure someone is. I don't have proof of that. But at the end of the day, we know how this usually goes. And even if it's not the case with Warner Brothers, it's usually the case with most companies. So just use this as an example. Anyway, whenever they say a merger creates new jobs, it does, but it's not for the people who spent years climbing a ladder that disappeared the moment two CEOs shook hands. The new jobs, they're for the new people, the outsourced teams, the fresh talent that they can hire cheaper because they don't come with your salary, your benefits, or your seniority. It's like crashing somebody's birthday party cutting their cake and telling them, hey, look at the bright side. Now there's more cake for everyone else. And let's talk about the worker psychology for a second. Like the mind of the worker who, just gets that notice one day that they've been bought out and you gotta go. Like Elon did at Twitter. There are people inside these companies like Warner Brothers, Disney, Netflix, Amazon, Apple, NBC, who have big dreams, big ambition. They want to climb. They want to grow. They want to, break into that leadership position over time. But mergers have a funny way of exposing something. Maybe the dream you're chasing doesn't even belong to you. That's what I take from it. Maybe that ladder you're climbing leads nowhere. Not to be negative, but it is what it is. Look, maybe the merger you're terrified of is the universe telling you something. It's telling you to build it on your own or build something of your own. Because listen, if a 100-year-old company like Warner Brothers can fall, or I'm not going to say fall, but get bought out that fast, if legacy, history, IP, their awards and their global recognition can't save Warner Brothers from that, then you got to think of how small your 9 to 5 actually is. If it could happen to them, it could definitely happen to you. Now, freelancers get called risky. Entrepreneurs get called unstable. Creators get called unpredictable. But the people saying that are the same ones who, respectfully, be crying in the parking lot when HR sends out a mandatory meeting email. The same ones who walk into the office and see security standing next to boxes. You know what that means. The same ones who built their lives on a foundation that someone else controls. Workers give their all to these companies, and these companies at any moment can sell them, merge them, restructure them, or just simply erase them without warning. But when it comes to freelancers, and again, I'm not saying freelancing is the end-all be-all perfect situation, but one thing about freelancers, we build our own houses, we build our own security, we build our own clients, we build our own opportunities, and nobody can merge us out of existence. You can't, and I just want to put that out there. Again, I'm not knocking anybody who wants to go the W-2 route. I'm just bigging up the freelancers because I feel like we don't get enough light on us at the end of the day. We get told, oh, that's risky, or this and that, or you're crazy for doing this, or that's not stable. But I'm here to, give flowers to all of the freelancers at times like this, because we deserve them. So yeah, mergers create jobs, but they destroy far more than they create, in my opinion. And if this Netflix Warner Brothers deal proves anything, it's this. Stability isn't real unless you build it. Your job is borrowed, your freedom is not. So wake up and build something before the boardroom decides what they're going to do with you. At the end of the day, Not claiming to have all the answers, again, just shining light on a certain area that I don't think gets enough light. With that being said, to anybody who is facing like a negative job situation now due to a merger, whether it's the Netflix or Warner Brothers, or anybody who's listening to this who's been through that, my heart goes out to everybody who has to deal with that. I've never been in that position with the W-2 job, but I do know that feeling of, being told that my position is up through like a monthly deal, a monthly retainer that I acquired. That was one of my clients, and that shit hurt. But the good news is it freed me up to go ahead and continue building. It was a chunk of my income, but it wasn't all of it. So hang in there. It's not the end of the world. If you've ever been thinking about building something, now's the time. Soak it all in. I'll see you on the next one.